Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you again to another episode from the Hero's Journey podcast, our way back to wholeness, sacred space where you can kiss your doubt goodbye and embark with confidence and love on your quest to become the hero on your journey back to wholeness. Together with brilliant minds, we venture into the unknown to revive and mend what is torn and to patch what is missing. And today I'm so excited to have Ariana with me today on this beautiful podcast. Usually I have a bigger introduction for my guests, but for this episode, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let myself be surprised too. We talked yesterday and set the state, and now I was like, Ariana, I'm just gonna straight hand the word to you. I'm again super grateful. And what I can already say is that she has an amazing, inspiring, healing testimonial or story to tell you. And that is that she healed from cancer. Now, what type of cancer and how she discovered it and how she healed from it, we will get to know that now. So, Ariana, thank you for being here, and I will give the word to you. And yeah, like, where did it all start? Where were you a couple of months or years ago? Where did your journey
Um, I guess people would want me to get right to the part where I was diagnosed this year, but I think it's important to reflect
start?
the years prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like I first started to get on, I would say, like a spiritual journey probably around in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
The year of 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the second time, and I was
Second
21.
time.
I was
Wow.
21 at the time. Um, and, just 6 months prior, I had beat it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually originally diagnosed at 19, but it was like 10 days before my 20th birthday. So I technically was 20 the whole journey, but was diagnosed at 19. And I did everything traditionally. I did the chemo, I
Mm-hmm.
did the double mastectomy, um, just got reconstruction, and I was, chilling for those 6 months. I did turn 21, and then that summer of COVID, that's when I had stumbled on another lump in my chest, and I was re-diagnosed with a reoccurrence. And during that time, uh, I felt like I was pretty isolated from my family
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up with my mom, and my mom suffered from a lot of mental illness stuff, so that had me and my siblings displaced. So just leading up to like the breast diagnosis, I feel like that stems from all of everything
Mm-hmm.
that came with me in childhood, and I just feel like um, it just really manifested. That's what it all came from. Just like not being
Mm-hmm.
happy with life. Like I could tell you that I was a very negative person
Mm-hmm.
both to those two prior diagnoses. Like I was a negative friend, and I just feel like I really didn't love myself. Like I didn't care about being alive, um, and like truth, like speaking about like the power of the tongue and even thoughts and everything like that. Like I don't know. Like even when I had found my lump, like I was like, oh yeah, like I'm not scared. I'm not scared to get diagnosed. Like I wouldn't care if I passed away. Like I'd be able to not be stressed out and be with my loved ones that have already passed away. Like I was really like saying all these negative things, and I feel like we don't really reflect and account about how that much like plays on to us like in our daily
Mm-hmm.
lives. And so when I got my second diagnosis, I was sitting with my stepmom, and I was just like, I just don't understand like why I'm going through this again. And like I did everything that the doctors told me to do, and my stepmom was like, "Well, Arii, you created this," and I said,
Huh?
"What the hell did you just say to me?" Like, I'm like, nobody wants to hear that they
No,
created something like this,
no.
but then I started diving deep into it, and she threw me in deep. But my first stepping stone was watching The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because my biological mom, she had me watch The Secret when I was 8. So like
Mm-hmm.
rewatching it as like now a 21-year-old, I'm like, holy shit, like what? And so that was like my first stepping stone, and just like setting out my intentions, and then I started diving deep into Dr. Joe's work,
Mm-hmm.
and it got deep, girl. Like I ended up writing my senior research paper. Like he was one of my sources of my senior research paper, and
Amazing.
like I quoted being becoming supernatural, and my paper got picked to present at a symposium.
Wow.
So I got to present, like, not only like a bit of his research. I can't remember the Japanese scientist that studied like
Oh,
what.
Masumoto, I believe.
Yeah,
No, no, no. Emoto,
yeah,
Emoto,
Emoto,
Masumoto,
yeah.
something like this.
Yes. So I got to talk about their work, and then I got to also compare both of my diagnosis, like my own response, to being like the negative person who I was in my first diagnosis, and then like stepping more into my power in my second
Mm,
diagnosis. And so um yeah, and I feel like I believe in all the stuff with Joe. Like I believed in all of it, but I still was not meditating. Like I was like,
mm,
this is still kind of weird. So yes, I'm more mindful now, but I still feel like I wasn't fully doing the work. So like the
yeah,
universe was
it's
just
another
creating instead
challenge.
of like me creating for myself. So I was able to beat it the second time, and I stayed healthy for for 3 years. Like I just hit my 3 year last year, so I guess yeah, 4 years that I would be um good. But I have to go in for annual scans, like routine scans. And my routine scans are a little bit different than the other people because they I don't like to say I have anything, but I had gene mutations, and one of them is I guess more aggressive. So it's called the TP53 gene mutation, or people call it like Lee-Fermini. And so TP53 is like your cancer fighting cells that everyone has in their body. So they say that people that have the mutation, their body doesn't do that. So they think
Mm,
you could get anything. When I say anything, I mean like literally anything. And like a lot of people that have the gene mutation, like usually get diagnosed when they're a kid.
mm,
So that combination, and then I know you're probably aware of like the BRCA mutation that's like for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So like my doctors always speculated the combination of those two was why I was diagnosed at 19.
mhm,
But a lot of people in my family got tested, and like for me to be one of the only people to have it, like get passed down to, like I don't find that that's ironic, because I did have a more difficult upbringing than I think than a lot of
mhm,
like my cousins and stuff like that on that side of the family.
mm,
So yeah, so I just went in for my annual routine this year, and like I literally have to get like full body scans, like from my head all the way down to
mm,
my toe. And then I got my results back saying that they had found a mass on my ovary. And that was really hard for me to hear, because like just let alone that year, I did start meditating every day, but I was doing 15-minute meditations, but I still was not like treating myself well. Like
mhm.
I have two jobs. I go to school part-time as well, so like when I
Wow.
clock out for lunch, like from my hospital healthcare job, I go to class as my lunch break, and then I clock back into work, and I still have to like work a full 8 hours, even though I was just clocked out for like 2 hours. So I'm like working like 10-hour days. And then my other job is like more remote. But on the weekends, I have to travel because I work from like a nonprofit organization
Mhm,
that's surrounded around like breast cancer survivors, about Black breast cancer survivors. And so since Black women are diagnosed at younger ages, like I would get on the stage and tell my story, what it was like being a survivor, what
mhm,
medicines ended up working for me, and like things of that nature. So I also travel a lot on the weekends, so like I was on a conveyor belt. And through all of that, like I still wasn't loving myself properly. I was very much like hard on myself.
mm.
You know, like in my classes, if I got like a B on an exam, like don't talk to me for the rest of the day. Like I'm one of those. I was one of
Like,
those kinds
what
of
do we
people.
have a saying here? Like when I was in high school, it was like, yeah, what was it? Five. Okay, we have a different score system. So basically, six is the worst. Five is like, well, still bad. Four is, three, you kind of pass. Two is good, and one is the best, basically. And we always said, um, five is like we passed, so that is good. Good is two, and two is almost one. So, such as the
Yeah,
fun thing,
I
just
wish I had
yeah.
that kind of mindset. Like, but yeah, I just wasn't that person. Like, I really beat
Mm,
myself up. Like, I want to be perfect or something, but there's like no
yeah,
such thing as perfect. So I kept just putting myself in that box or what society deems as perfect because it's hard
yeah,
to not want to live around your societal expectations, you know? Like,
definitely, yeah, yeah.
so I just feel like, yeah, I was doing a lot. And when I found out that there was a mass there, like it really did like shake my whole world because like I want to be a mom, you know, like
Mhm,
not my creation center of where I get to have and hold my babies, like is being in question right now. Like, what? And like even to the fullest, like I'm the mom friend, my social media name has mama in it, like I don't have no children yet, but I'm Mama Arii, like for real, I am literally Mama Arii. I'm like a very old soul, but yeah. And so that was really hard for me to hear, and I was like, damn, not that I created something again, but like, you know, within all of that, ultimately I did end up realizing, like, you know, I am a master manifester. Like it is very easy for me to manifest anything, and that's what I feel like is a big message about like health things. Like when people get a serious diagnosis or like something serious happens to them, like bro, like do you know how powerful you are? Like that's just like that.
mhm,
That's the biggest hint right there. You are powerful. You are
mhm,
powerful enough to create something so scary. Like imagine what you can create that's like so awesome. Like
mhm.
so I think that's ultimately what I had to learn through this diagnosis and
I love though how you phrased it, like you were so powerful to create that instead of going down the rabbit hole. Like I probably I assume more like when you have setbacks, sometimes it's like, oh, not again. We tend to beat ourselves up. And did it take you some time to get out of that hole, or like did you
it
fall into a pit, or where was it like no,
It
like
really was. I feel like if I didn't have my stepmom, I don't know that I would have been able to keep that mindset. Because my
yeah,
stepmom, she's a spiritual advisor, so like this is her line of work, you know.
yeah.
Uh, man, she made me go camping in the woods for a couple of days. Like I'm serious. I haven't camped in like 12 years, and I was like I don't know. I was a germaphobe. Like you want me to sit outside? You want me to use the bathroom outside? Like that's just I haven't done this since I was a kid. So yeah, she made me camp in a tent. We didn't have like no like I'm still talking about sleeping on the ground. Like
Mhm.
yeah.
Did she
So
accompany you, or did you have to did
oh
you?
yeah, she was with me and
Okay.
she brought one of her other friends who's also like deep into this work and so like
Mhm,
we were doing our own healing ceremonies in the woods, you know?
mhm,
So that was like my first eye opener right there, like huge. And that was the moment where I was like, dang, instead of thinking like, why me? Why not me? Like, you
mhm,
know, like that was my moment where I was like, holy shit, like when I started getting into Joe's work, I realized that I wanted to be a doctor. So I was in college at the time and I was studying radiation therapy. So like
mhm,
it was already my major to treat cancer patients before I even received my first diagnosis.
mhm,
So um, I was like, man, my ultimate goal is going to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor that heals themselves, like that teach people how to
mhm,
heal themselves. You know, I really want to embed holistic work. And so, let alone this year, while the classes I'm taking right now are my pre med classes so that I can apply to med school because I'm missing a couple of courses. And I really thought a lot this year, like, how am I going to teach people to heal themselves? And I never
Mm-hmm.
did it. You know, I always took the modern medicine route. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, that was my combination with the aha moment. Like, wow, this is, I guess this is my test. Like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going
Mm-hmm.
to do the modern medicine or am I going to do the holistic route? And so,
Yeah, like
um,
stepping outside and like walking the talk, not talking
cause
the.
it's hard.
That is
Like, you
that is
know,
that is overwhelming. Can
it's,
be so overwhelming,
it's
especially in
definitely
that
hard.
situation.
Yeah, like I already work in healthcare. Not only do I work in healthcare, but I work in oncology. I know I had to study in school what causes every single cancer in the book.
Yeah.
I have to know how to treat every single cancer in the book. So it's like it's hard to like, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I know exactly what my doctors are thinking." So like
Mm-hmm.
that was another part for me. And then with my breast organization, my boss, she's more like a mom to me. So like cuz my biological mom passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so her and my stepmom are like my parents. And so with this, like they're wanting me to choose different things. Like my stepmom's like, you're not cutting shit out. Like, and then my boss mom, she's like, get rid of all that shit. And I'm just sitting here like, damn, like I don't get to choose, Like so I, in the beginning, we did the healing ceremonies in the woods, and me and my stepmom were doing some things, and then I decided to order another scan. So I got a scan. My initial scan was like last week of April, so first week of May. My second scan was in June, and so when I got that one, at that point, I was starting to do some meditation, but I still was not meditating every day. Like I
Mm-hmm.
still wasn't like, oh, I'm into it. Like I wasn't like, oh, I'm like really feeling this. Like
Was
Joe's
it
meditations
was
are
it
interesting.
Was it because you couldn't, like you didn't fully grasp the opportunity, or was it difficult for you to opening up, or it wasn't that super, I don't know how to say, that exciting thing that you imagine, like you sit down and you close your eyes, and I mean, in the beginning, it's not nice.
Yeah,
You're
like the
confronted with so
15
many things.
yeah, the 15-minute meditations I used to do were like guided all the way through. So like
Mm,
someone's talking to me all the way through, so I don't even have to think about my own thoughts because she's telling me how to think. And I feel like Joe is like, no bitch, you gonna think your own, like you gonna think your own thoughts. And so I'm like, this meditation is long. He's not talking to me the whole way time. So like I didn't know that I was like really into it. And so I'm like, man, like,
mm,
okay. And then I get my second scan, and then that's when they told me that it doubled in size, the
oh,
mass. From May to June it doubled in size, and now they see a predominant mass on the other ovary too now. And so this time I'm like, oh my gosh, like I guess I'm gonna have to start preparing to get ready for surgery. And I told my doctor like maybe I'm willing to do 50-50. Like maybe you can remove one and like
mm,
let me keep my other one. And he was like, no, like
yeah.
I'm not willing to do that. Like you need to get a full hysterectomy. And I'm like, I'm only 25. Like you're gonna send me into premenopause at 25, and like I don't know, like you taking my womanhood away. And he just didn't feel sensitive about that, like enough
Mm,
for me. Like,
mm,
and he didn't want to respect my wishes, so I fired him. Like, okay, baby, sorry, we're gonna have to push you to the side because I need to
mm,
find a doctor that works for me. So, and that doctor was in Houston, so which is 2 hours for me. So, like, I would
mm.
have to drive 2 hours just to see him. Like, that's too much.
Yeah,
Um, and I ain't even gonna mention the place that he works at, but the it's a huge cancer clinic, and people all around the world go there. And it just felt like I didn't belong there the whole time I
yeah.
was there. Like I'm not meant to be a patient. Like I'm not a patient. Like I don't know. And so I ended up finding a doctor that was local for me, and she said she would do the surgery with respect to my wishes. Um, and I had to state them, like no matter what she saw in there, no matter what she had to do, like keep one of my keep my left ovary in because it wasn't like as bad as the right one.
Mm,
And So then by July, I went in for surgery, and me and my stepmom, we have been doing all this work these past months, and I'm like,
Going
we,
hard, though.
yeah, like we were going in confident, but I don't feel like I was still at 100% confidence. Like
Mm-hmm.
it still was scary. And when I woke up from surgery, I woke up. They took my right ovary. They told me they also had to take my appendix. They said that it tripled in size by the time of the surgery, and the right it was coming out of the ovary and it started to wrap around the appendix. So they had to take all of that. It was attached to like my lower intestine. They had to scrape that off. And
Mm-hmm.
then my left was described as like a water balloon that popped and it was just spraying out cancer. So it was a lot in there. It wasn't like, like I just popped away a nickel or something. Like there was a lot going on. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was like, okay, I have to really get serious. So after I was released from the hospital, we rented like a Airbnb to like stay in, to have space, like all my family and friends visiting and stuff. And the first thing that I had my whole family do, we watched The Source, because The Source literally came out that week. And so
Oh,
I
wow.
was like,
Yeah.
we're gonna watch it. And so we all watched it together as a family. And I made my dad watch it. My dad don't believe in any of this stuff, but I mean he does now. Um my dad, my siblings, both of my mom, my boss mom and my stepmom, of course, she would watch it. And then yeah, and in that documentary I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And so um my medical oncologist wanted me to start chemo. And after starting chemo, she wanted me, like midway through chemo, get a full hysterectomy and then finish chemo. And so I was like, okay, but let me go to a retreat first. So I wanted to go to a Joe Dispenza retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as we know, uh, the retreats, I feel like they're they're priced for what they're worth. Like it's worth it. But for somebody that hasn't gone to one, it's like wow. Like, But ironically that summer I ended up winning an award through the certification that gives us like our credentials for all radiologic professions.
Mm-hmm.
Um I have won an award, like in a national award, about like just being
Wow.
an outstanding like radiation therapist. Like I got nominated and I won. And so like right before I think the tickets were already on sale, but they weren't sold out for this event.
Mm-hmm.
um the lady called me and she was like, yeah, you won the award. Did you know that it comes with a cash prize this year? This is the first year we're doing cash prizes with this award. Do you want to know how much it is? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, it's 2,500. And I was like, I'm going to see Joe. Like,
Yeah.
like, so girl math. I don't even have to spend my own money. I'm just gonna use this money through this award. So yeah. So that's why I was able to go to the event. So I'm like, okay, like let me just do that. And so me and my stepmom, we both went to the event together, and it was crazy. Like I'm glad, because also when I was recovering, I started doing busting of the energy centers every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
like multiple times a day. Like if somebody came in and interrupt me, like I got to start over, kind of thing. Like I was dedicated to that. So I was doing that leading up to the week long. So I was doing that for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then we did the week long retreat, and it was just like magical. Like, meditating in a room with that many people, like I know not at every event, but like the when we do like the breath on our back and then people start laughing and then the whole
Mm-hmm.
room start, yeah, like I've never experienced anything like that. Like I was
Yeah.
laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Like it was just like such a magical time.
That
Um,
sounds wonderful. And I have one more, sorry for interrupting, but I have a question. Like when you were so deep and committed to the blessings of the energy centers, you said you would repeat it even like if you were interrupted, and probably also if you had the feeling that you were not really focused. What was it like? What came up for you, if I may ask? Was there I assume I could, like, if I was in that situation, there would be probably a lot of fear and maybe even like doubt. What came up for you and how do you dealt with that? Because I know that sometimes these emotions, especially in meditation, when we go deep and we are confronting them and we experience them in the meditation, if you are not very clear on the model and understand what is happening to you, and not understand what you have to do in that moment, it can be super overwhelming and it can be very scary. So what did you have those moments, or were you just like, now because you have gone through so much in the past that you were kind of committed and like confident enough, or how was the 2 months leading up to the you going to the event?
I'm not gonna say it wasn't hard.
Mm,
Like, I saw my moments where I was crying, like, trying to seek advice through like I'm close to people that are like mediums and stuff, so like,
mm-hmm,
I'm trying to get readings and I was trying to seek out a lot of answers, like
yeah,
it was still very, I'm not gonna sit here and just be like, oh yeah, I was just 100%. I know when I got to 100% confidence, and it wasn't in them 2 months. So
mm,
like, if I think you even just like showing up to do it, it's just like enough. There's no like right and wrong, there's no perfect way about going about things, I feel like some people are like, oh, do I need to meditate 3 times a day? Like, you're only meditating because it makes you feel good afterwards, like
mm,
these days be heavy as hell. Like, earth is like, this is our schoolhouse, so like
mm,
days be a lot. Like, a lot of things happen, but we meditate because it feels good. Like, when you wake up from I mean, not wake up, but like when you get up from meditation, like, man, I feel fucking great. Like, that's what we're looking for. Like, do a meditation and do some other shit that makes you feel good. Because I was also it wasn't just the meditations, it was also how intentional I was with my time. Like,
mm.
I really gave up a lot of shit. Like, I am a documentary murder show watching kind of girl. Like, you list a documentary, I probably watched all of them. Like, I love horror movies. I've been watching horror movies since I was like a little girl by myself. Like, I gave up all those things. Like, gave those things up. Gave up like listening to like sad music.
Mm,
Um, and I'm gonna be honest, I really didn't hang out with a lot of people at that time either. Like, I didn't haven't seen friends in months. Like, I don't know if it was a universe or what. I was only able to see 2 friends. Every time I tried hanging out with somebody, something happened. Like,
mm.
somebody's car broke down and I couldn't go. Like, it was like, yeah. And so I'm
Cocoon
like,
time, girl.
yeah, exactly. Like a cleanse. Like, I was playing more board games with my family. We were watching like, girl, I don't watch nothing but Disney movies now, or like a cartoon animated. Like, yeah, like that's still to this day. That's still what I'm watching. So like, I don't know, all that stuff. The music that I listen to, like I only listen to music that came out in like early 2000s right now, because like, I'm over here singing Pocket Full of Sunshine every other day. Like, like
Mm,
yeah, so like it was a lot of that too, being really intentional with my time. And
mm,
I even like, and I was getting signs about it. So I am in like this Facebook group chat for people that have that really rare gene mutation. And I think this lady was talking about her kid was diagnosed again or something like this, and this lady commented and she said, my son got diagnosed like three or four times, and on his last time, we were just like, we're not going to do the surgery. Like, this is just not the life that he wants to keep living. Like, who wants to keep going through that same process?
mm,
And um, so the lady was like, so what did you do? Like, was there a diet? Was there a da da da? The mom was like, no, we just went home and we were intentional every single day, and we just made sure we laughed a lot and we were intentional. And now he's 34 years old, about to have his
mm.
third kid, and that happened when he was like 8. He was on his fourth diagnosis at 8, because people with that gene mutation, they get multiple diagnoses. So like
Wow.
that was one of my signs too. So that was before I even went to Joe, and I was like, oh my gosh, like okay, like.
Mm.
And I guess I never mentioned this when I was at the retreat, but I did do one online coherence healing before I went to the week long.
Mm.
And you know, you're in the coherence healings. Like I have never been to a retreat, so I didn't know what to expect when I was doing that healing.
Mhm.
I know I had been doing blessing of the energy centers, but like the way that I felt on that call was like this isn't like the way my body was twitching. I felt like my head was about to pop off my body. And
Yeah.
I've never been to a retreat before. So like and even the day of my coherence healing, so I
Mhm.
have, you know, everyone has angel numbers or whatever. I have angel numbers tattooed on my arm, and it was my angel numbers backwards. Like that was the date of my healing. Um
Wow.
so like that was one little tiptoe. Then we go to the week long, we're doing the meditations, I'm having a great time. Then we get to the first person in coherence healing, and all three of the coherence healings were magical for me. Like
Mm.
my body was shaking, I was feeling the CSF fly all the way up to my head. Like yeah. And I think it was after the second coherence healing, I told my stepmom that I wanted to cancel my chemo. I was like, I'm ready to cancel it. Like feeling the magic in the coherence healings, and on top of that, I did have like a big aha moment, and I feel like that was the moment where like my heart really did open, because you know when Joe tells you to become nobody, no one, no thing, like I
Mhm.
didn't like that. Like when I first got to the week long, I was like, he telling me to be a nobody. I was like, I don't want
Oh,
to be a
be
nobody.
somebody.
Yeah. So I was taking it as like, why is he telling me to be a nobody? I don't. That sounds like a negative affirmation. And so
Mm.
my mom was like, okay, well, let's break that down. And that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, like I always felt like, you know, that I was a nobody, that I wasn't special. Like, you know, that ultimate feeling of not really loving yourself. And
Mhm.
I just realized that like I was also using um my past two diagnoses to kind of make me feel special. I didn't really feel like I started becoming special in this world until I started traveling and speaking on stages and like,
Mm.
you know, working for that kind of organization. I feel like that was what kind of gave me my spark
Mm.
almost. And I just was like, man, I can't believe I was riding the wave on that. Like that's just
Mhm.
not who I am. And so um yeah, that's when I decided like I wasn't gonna work in that field anymore. Like there were so many things. Like I told my organization I'm not speaking on stages anymore. Like I really had to set boundaries with that. But and so yeah, when we finished the week long that Monday, because you know the week longs end on the Sunday, that Monday I was supposed to start chemo. And so I called my doctor's office and I just told them like, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cancel the chemo. Like, sign me up for a scan. I don't care what scan you give me, just give me a scan. And
Mhm.
so I went and got this. No, before I even went and got the scan, the day of the scan, I was doing a meditation. I was doing sync your
Oh,
energy to health.
yeah.
Yeah,
Synchronizing your energy to have, yeah, the
yeah.
sync. Yeah.
So I was doing that meditation, and in that meditation, I saw myself wearing a particular outfit. I saw my stepmom wearing a particular outfit, and we were walking into the doctor's office. And before I walked in, I was flipping it off, like I was giving it the middle finger, and I was like, "I'm never coming back to this place." I was like, "I'm never coming back to this place." And so when I got up for my meditation, probably like an hour before my scan, they called me and they were like, Ariana, we want to tell you that our CT scanner broke today. Um, you can't come to the clinic to get your CT scan because their CT scanner is in the oncology office, and so
Mhm.
they had to order me a scan to just like a diagnostic. imaging place. You know, people go there to see if their foot is broken. So it's like not specified to oncology, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so they were able to squeeze me in at another location for later on that day. And my stepmom was like, well, do you feel like you're not meant to get the scan today? And I was like, no, I'm meant to get the scan because one, in my second coherence healing at the week long, I asked the universe, like, I have enough faith to not get the scan. If you want me to get this scan, show me a rose because I like to identify my ovaries as roses. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, if you show me a rose, I will go get the scan. If you don't show me a rose, I'm not going to get it. That's how much faith I have. And so as soon as I walked out the ballroom to leave after the coherence healing to do the walking meditation outside, there was a whole bouquet of like roses. And the roses also had blue hydrangeas in it, and I like to see my throat chakra as blue hydrangeas. So I just took that
Wow.
as like, get the scan, speak your truth. And so I was like, Mama, I'm meant to get this scan. And then I also asked her, and I was like, what do you have on today? Because we weren't together at this point. We were going to meet up at the imaging place together. And she was like, oh, I have on a black dress. I was like, you had a black dress on in my meditation this morning. So yes, I am meant to get this scan because I'm wearing this outfit. You're wearing that outfit. Like, yeah. And so I go to the diagnostic place to get my CT scan. I start talking to the CT tech. I just told her I won that national award because that's who she also gets her credentials from. So I'm like, yeah, girl, I won my award through ART. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm the gold standard award. And she was like, ah, like we was geeking over it. And so I was like, yeah, so you gonna let me look at my scan after I get off the table? And she was like, yeah. I mean, you won a national award. Why not let the national award winner look at her scan? So I was like, bet. Because, like, being a radiation therapist, I look at CT scans all the time, but,
Mm-hmm.
like, I never really look at a woman's, like, pelvic CT scan. And so I didn't really know what I was looking at, but I was like, I still am gonna look. So I'm like scrolling through. I'm like, okay, cool, it looks great. Like, and then I leave. And then, ironically enough, that scan date was on my little sister's birthday, so we thought that was magical too. And so,
Wow.
um, I had my follow up scheduled for Monday, which was the 26th, which is also one of my sister's birthdays. And so it's like, yeah, this is going great. And so we get on the telemed, and it's the nurse practitioner. She's a very serious woman, but she just kept smiling. And I was like, why is this lady smiling? Because she is like one of the most serious people that I've like. I'm a goofy patient, you know, like I'm authentically myself, so I'm goofy. So like, yeah. So when I saw her on the call and she just kept, I was like, why is she smiling like this? She's scaring me. And and then she was like, yeah, did you look at your results from your scan? Because like, you know, like recently in the last couple of years, like if you get any medical procedure, they have to automatically upload the results before a doctor even gives it to you. It's like a new
Oh.
law. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's nice.
Oh yeah, that must just be a us thing. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it because you know patients are like reading their own stuff and then they go on Google and then they start like you know
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I was like, no, I didn't look at them. I saw that they were uploaded, but I just wanted you to just tell me. And she was like, okay, well, um, because remember in my surgery, I had them take the right ovary. She took everything she could, but I left the left ovary in, knowing that there was still a lot of disease in there. Like my doctor was not satisfied when she got out of surgery. She felt like she didn't do her job. She was very
Mm-hmm.
upset, and I could tell she cares about me. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she was very upset, and so yeah, I knew that I still had like disease in the left ovary. So yeah, I got my scan back, and she went through all of it. And she was like, "Yeah, everything's clear."
Wow.
And my son was like, "Well, what about the leftover?" And she was like, "That's clear too. They said there's nothing in there. Like it's normal. Like when you read this, normal, 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 normal." Because they were, because I also did wait a long time to start the chemo. My surgery was July 5th, and I said I wasn't gonna start chemo till August 19th. So like they were making a
Wow.
lot of speculations about me, you know. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
do this, it's gonna do that. It was already in this place and that, but everything was normal. And my doctor, I feel like she's still, when you're taught hammers and nails, what are you gonna do with a chainsaw? So like, I just felt like she was like, no. But when she sent me the message to tell me like no and all this other stuff, she accidentally called me Dr. Ariana in beginning of the message. Like, she started it and said, Dr. Ariana, I just want you to know that the probability of this and blah, 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 blah. And so when she finally got on the phone with me, I was like, yeah, did you realize you called me Dr. Ariana? And she was like, no, I didn't call you Dr. Ariana. Because a doctor would never call you a doctor if you ain't a doctor, you know? Like, I work with doctors. And so I was like, yeah, girl, like that. I feel like that was my sign. Like, people are going to tell you what you know, people are gonna say whatever, but like, just believe in yourself. You know what route you're going. Like, I do want to be a doctor. I do want to be a person that heals people. Like, we ask the universe for all these things, and when we're not being intentional, we can't complain the way that they show up. You know,
Mm.
like, I want to be this. Like, even at the week long, they did a youth session where we got to talk to Joe 1-on-1, and we got to
What?
ask him
What?
questions.
Really? Oh, that's so cool.
Literally. And so we got to ask questions, and girl, I'm like, what am I gonna ask him? What am I gonna ask him? Because I'm the kind of person, like, I'm gonna ask a question. Like,
Mm.
I make sure I'm relieved with asking a question. So like, he was answering all these questions, and I was the last person I got picked. Girl, I'm telling you, I was raising my hand so hard. Joe was like, I don't know who to pick. So he asked Riley to pick for him because he couldn't decide. Why, I looked in Riley's eyes so hard. I've never, like, I'm like, boy, you gotta pick me. And so I asked Joe, like, do you feel like, um, you know, do you feel like you had to go through your breaking your back and go through that whole experience to be the person that you are today? Like, were you unintentionally letting the universe create for you, or do you feel like you had to go through this to become the person you are today? And he said both. And like, now looking at the scope of it, like, I would agree. Like, it was something that kind of shook my world, but like, bro, now I'm just like such an awesome person even more after it. Like, it's like,
Mm.
man, I just feel so powerful, and just, I don't know. Like, I really do like love myself like immensely. Like,
Wow, that's I think the most beautiful gift ever. If you can truly love yourself, if you can be compassionate and just like loving to yourself and kind and yeah, with open heart feels really, really nice. Feels really, really good.
it does. It really does. And that's why I feel like I have to start at the beginning, because like, I wasn't always this person. Like,
Mhm.
now people come up to me, and some people can remember me from like when I spoke on the stage and stuff, and they're like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I'm like, "Baby, I wasn't always here."
Mhm.
Like, I really was a hot mess express, like, before that. Like, I was a decent, like, I was still a caring and nice person to other people, but like, I wasn't nice to myself.
Mm.
And I think that's really where it starts. Like,
Yeah.
what am I really taking on? And I'm still human. There's still things that I still do struggle with. Like, I went from being a person that did 5 million things in a day, and sometimes I'm still like, yeah, let's make a checklist. Let's go through this whole checklist. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, girl, like, let's watch a Disney movie. Let's eat some fruit roll-ups and just like lay here. Like,
Let's chill a bit.
exactly, exactly. So,
Mm.
um, for those listening, like, don't be too hard on yourself. It's just like really taking one step at a time, and like, it takes a lot to learn how to love yourself. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. If the work was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there's only so much that of us that are doing it, but
Mm.
we could all be supernatural. So,
Definitely. That brings me what comes up for me right now, like how did your relation to your emotions change, like before and now, like after? You mentioned you still have like sometimes there's still things that you struggle with, or like you're still human at the end of the day. So, but
it
what has changed
I
now?
think it's how long you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't say that, oh, you'll never have fear, you'll never have doubt, you'll never have anxiety. Like, I still have those things, but not for a long time. I'm not having anxiety to where it ruins my whole day, or I have really bad stomach aches or acid reflux and like sleepless nights. Like, I let it happen for a moment. I get to talk it out with my stepmom or talk it out with my siblings and do a writing assignment in my journal, rip it up, burn it, drown it in some water, bury it, whatever I need to do to just like release it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're valid to whatever emotion you feel, but it's like how long are you gonna stay there? So like I'll let myself have a day, but it don't need to be longer than no day.
Yes. Awesome. That sounds, yeah, having a ritual or just something, a tool that is important.
Cause
And
I gotta put myself in check too.
yeah,
Like when are
yeah,
you gonna put yourself in check? Like, okay, I'm tripping today. Like I need to do extra meditation, you know?
exactly, exactly. I love that you mentioned this, that it's like you're still human too. We are human and we are worthy enough as human, as imperfect, perfect we are to receive healing. And then we're still human, so we just need to practice and to choose to stay in our heart. And then also, like, how was it before you started meditating, like opening up your heart? And how was it now? Is it now? Like, how was that journey? Like, apart from all the physical things that you healed, like, how was it opening your heart at the beginning, like in your
It was
meditations?
it was hard.
Mm.
Cause I mean I feel like, based on society, we have our hearts so sheltered, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we don't really get to sit down and process our emotions like we should, you know? Like, I don't know, your grandpa dies or something, you still got to go to work in the next 3 days. Like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
major person in your family. Like, we just be having to put band aids on stuff and that instead of like actually digging deep. So I feel like it was hard for me to pull the heart up. But then when I realized about knowing that I'm special and I'm important just because, like, it's a 1 in a million chance that you actually get brought to this earth. So I'm like, okay, like, there's a reason why I'm here. And I just feel like now it's just eat a lot easier because I know what like true love feels like.
Mm.
Like there's a point where I don't know, you start becoming more of like an advanced meditator that you just know what that real true positive love feels like. And that's why I want everyone to experience a retreat, because like, yes, people will be doing the work from their home, but like when you get to have the community with it, like
Mm.
we are social beings, like we are meant
Yeah.
to have some form of community. So like I would say that's a major part in the heart opening process too, because like going to the events, having the youth group, and even my family, like my family believes in all of this stuff. Like they
Mm.
didn't doubt me at all. Like in the beginning of all of this, they were like, if there's anybody in this family that can heal themselves, like it's you. Like my family, if I was like, should I do chemo? My family would be like, no. Like, and that's all my sisters. And I have three sisters. So
Wonderful. Yeah.
like even if your family doesn't do it, I still feel like it's important to find your community because it's
Oh,
so
yes.
easy to link your heart versus, like, yeah, just have
Community
some.
is important, not just like connection to other human beings, just like
Yes,
giving each other a hug or just like contact. We need
it
that
is.
in our bodies, like based on connection and just relationship and like communication. And this is something that really gets lost these days, I feel like, or when our heart is closed, we don't feel like, or we get triggered so easily when we are with people, and then we go into relationships that are not really serving us. It's like mostly fear-based and it's not really whole. And then being able to express your emotions and just having really deep conversation alone, that is so healing.
Literally. I'm like, people do everything in a clan. I mean, when you think about like even when we do the walk for the world, like it's the walk for the world. It's people all around the world. Like we all do be
Mm,
needing some sense. So I just feel like even if you don't have the support of your regular family and friends, like that's a new shedding too. Because I've heard people also say that too. But I've also heard people say they made a new family with inside this work. I've made some really good friends. Like I'm close
mm,
to a couple of girls that I've just met at retreats, and I'm just like, wow, this is somebody
mm,
I think I could be friends with for a really long time, and like I don't have to be like, the weird hippie, the weird hippie
mhm.
friend. I have everything. I'm like, okay, yeah. So
Yeah, of course you can.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So I just feel like that's another huge component that I wouldn't want to leave that out because
Mm,
I do feel like the work can be hard if everyone around you is doubting you.
yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, what I love about this work, there's really no right or wrong, you could say. People have all kinds of different experiences. Some people, they said they're never gonna go to chemo again. Some people, they still did it and then gradually left it and they were fine. Some people, like the healing, it's not about judging the conventional treatments either. They are
Yeah,
receiving the guidance to what is good for them. And I think
exactly.
that's also, I think, a very important thing to keep in mind, to have
Yes,
enough faith to let go and be guided and let the things come to you and let it evolve and unfold. And
exactly. Because I would never sit here and tell anybody to quit treatment. That's not. I don't want anybody listening to this to think that that's what I'm telling them. That's just what I chose.
mm,
But I was on my third diagnosis, so it's like a whole different perspective for me. Like, I just felt like, how many times am I going to have to cut pieces away of my body? There's
mm,
something deeper to it for me. If you put your faith in all the medicine, then do that too, because I did that the second time. Like it's really just about your own particular healing journey. We all are getting these things for different reasons, and I just had to find mine out differently than everybody else. So like,
yes,
I don't know. It's just really putting your faith in something, I feel like.
definitely. Well, this is a very, very, very beautiful and powerful story. That is really, I'm not, it's one of, that's a really, that's a big journey. Like, that's a big, big journey. And if I hear this, then I'm like, then I can, anything that comes to me in life, I can do that too. When I hear these stories with these hardships, and let's be real, in those moments where, like, when it's hard, it's tough. It's really hard, like overwhelming emotionally, physically, and like fear is something very real. But that you have overcome all of that is just like so, so inspiring, and just I hope this sparks a light in everybody else and even in people who are fully healthy, just to know that they are truly the creator of their lives and they can create everything they want to. So my last question is just like, what is something that you would like to like, what is something, when the hero, my podcast is based on the hero's journey, like this myth by or this concept by Joseph Campbell. And when the hero comes back, he brings back the wisdom and shares it with all the community, and integrating that wisdom into his society and community in his life. So, what is it for you that what are the most important things that you would like to share with others to really share? And yeah, what is now in your future? Like, where you going now? Where you flying now?
Um, so right now I like integrating all of this into my
Mhm.
life, trying to find a really good balance. Because like I said, working in healthcare before and then now believing in all this work, in the beginning of all this, I felt like I had to choose like one or the other. And so now I'm coming to terms with finding like a middle ground in all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my organization where we've signed up for the NCS training. So we're about to start trying to embed Joe's work into like our advocacy work. Um, Healthcare wise, like I plan on applying to med school this year. So, my specialty, I want to do functional medicine and ultimately teach people how to be the best versions of themselves and like
Mm-hmm.
truly love themselves. But I feel like that also stays with me being committed into like really doing the work and not just being like, okay, well, now I have these set goals, I'm just gonna run all the way there. Like, I still do like podcasts and stuff like that with people. I'm still doing the coherent healings, like still want to show up for events. So like, um just being a regular part of the audience too. So I'm
Yes.
just like y'all.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything with us. And like the maybe the last insight, or not insight, just like, is there something on your heart that you would love to share with the others?
mm, I guess it's like love really does heal all.
Mm,
That's like the ultimate theme about the I feel like our whole lifetime. So
mm-hmm.
we do get separated from love very easily just based upon our everyday. Like I was saying, not being able to really sit in your emotions and like I guess if nobody tells you I love you, then I love you. Or whoever's listening.
Mm.
Like
Mama Aria.
exactly. Exactly. And love is just so strong and when you finally have that aha moment, um, it's beautiful. You
Awesome.
can't unlearn it.
I can imagine. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much again. Um, that was really an amazing episode, and just thank you for taking your time to share your amazing story with us and your journey. That was super inspiring.
Thank you.
And I see you all on the next episode. I hope this brought you some light and some inspiration and to spend your mind of what is truly possible. Just knowing that she's also not the only one. There's a lot of people who've already done it. So
Mhm.
you can do too, whatever you go through, but you can do it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.